Okay, so I've begun starting these of late with the question: is there anything in particular that you think you'd like me to know, or that I should know before I begin typing you?
Hmm. Um, I mean, not particularly. I don't think I'm that out of the ordinary.
Okay. Next question: are you afraid of no ghost?
New ghost?
No ghost.
No go. What's that?
Well, I hear a song in the background that says "You ain't afraid of no ghost."
Yeah, sorry about that. I am here, let me pan it. Uh how do I do that? Yeah. I'm just like in a common room area of
Hmm.
my apartment complex.
I see.
So I can't turn off the music. This was the best
That,
place
that
for me to do this.
that's fine. I just wanted to check to make sure if the songs necessarily reflect your position on things or not. I guess not.
No, no, it's random.
Okay. So, can you tell me your level of familiarity with my typing videos? Have you watched typing sessions before, or are you familiar with the way I type or my thoughts about typing?
Yeah, I would say I ran across your videos occasionally on YouTube, and I saw your debate with Jack because I was more into socionics, and um so I came more interested in your channel from there. And um I I liked your takes on a few different things. So I thought that it would be interesting to do a typing.
Okay, cool. Um, I'm going to demonstrate myself telling a story about the last couple of hours, and then I'd like you to do the same thing for your own last couple of hours. Okay, so here's the way I want the story to go. It's going to be a succession of insignificant events as per follows. So, a couple hours ago, I decided to put the steaks on the barbecue. I came home from getting more cigarettes, and then I started the barbecue, and I came in here and I started editing this Type Police video that I was working on, and while I let the coals get warm. But then when I went outside to put the steaks on, I waited too long and the coals were cold, so I had to add more coals to it. But then I put the steaks on anyway, even though the new coals weren't hot yet. But I moved them off of the main flame so they wouldn't get too charcoaly tasting. And then I went in and watched the end of the baseball game with my dad, and basically it took a couple innings for the steak to be done, and then Rachel came inside with us as well. We ate steaks during the ninth inning of the baseball game, and after that we came out here and pulled some bowls. So can you do that for the last couple hours of your day?
So the last couple hours, um I guess 2 hours ago, I would have been at my apartment, and I was I had some laundry going because uh, reasons, and I didn't watch it very carefully. So, like, it kept being to where like I would run the dryer for an hour and then I would forget it, and it would just be like closing it for an hour or something like that. What I was mainly doing, I was reading some books, and I was reading some. Yeah, I guess I was just reading books, and I watched some YouTube videos. I took a shower. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you remember, uh, like, what grade was the transition year between middle school and high school for you?
Well, I didn't really have a super sharp break between middle school and high school because I was homeschooled.
Okay.
But that being the case, when we did go into high school, um, I remember my mom was saying, now it's going to be a little more serious. We're actually going to have separate subjects and stuff like that. So I don't remember. I was probably around 13, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Do you remember, for example, the summer the difference between the summer between age 13 and 14, and the summer between age 12 and 13? Like, in other
No,
words, you don't
no,
you
no,
can't
no.
distinguish anything.
No, I don't have a memory like that.
What about, did you go to college?
I did, yes, I did.
So, do you remember clearly the distinction between freshman year and sophomore year in college?
I would say my freshman semester I studied more. I studied all the time. And then actually my freshman year I studied all the time. I just lived in the chemistry clinic and stuff. I would say my sophomore year I did not study as much.
Okay. And why is,
Yeah.
do you know why that is? What are your thoughts as to why?
Well, I mean the main reason was I was kind of going through a I guess crisis of values and understanding of the world, and that greatly distracted me, and it became my main focus. And I kind of just made school be to where I would get like a B or something, and then I would be happy with that. Whereas I used to would have like focused on it more, but I was too distracted.
Would you say in general that your productivity slash behavior is more impacted by your temporary mood or your medium to long term sort of paradigm frame of reference on life?
Oh, short term mood versus frame of reference. I would say it is more so the paradigm, but the short term mood does impact it as well. But like if I was in a relatively worse place in the medium term, then that's going to have a like more overriding effect than how I feel on a particular day.
All right. If you were in some sort involved in some sort of creativity contest, let's say make a sculpture out of clay in 10 minutes, and you've got a choice to be one of the competitors or one of the judges. Number one, which do you think would be more fun? And number two, which do you think you'd be better at doing?
Okay, so be a judge of it versus do it.
Yeah. Be a
I would
competitor
definitely
or a
be
judge?
no, I would definitely prefer to be a judge, and I think I would do better as a judge than the competitor. Yeah.
Okay. So, um, are you somebody who consumes much media? And if so, what medium is the media that you consume and that you most often?
I consume a lot of media. I YouTube is the number one thing, which is probably not surprising for people that are into typology. Um, yeah, it's definitely YouTube. It's my favorite because number one, you get a choice between like short term versus long term content. So I like to, for example, watch lectures, or I don't know if you've heard of Intelligence Squared debates, but it's like a debate society type thing that explores like a topic in a debate format over the course of an hour and a half. Or I've watched like a lot of the Harvard and Yale history, literature, political theory type essays, or rather lectures, courses. I love all that type of stuff. But sometimes you're not in the mood for that, and so then you can go to like the 10-minute videos that are like more succinct and short. There's a lot of short form content. You basically have a lot of control over what type of content, and um, it's relaxing. It's more relaxing than reading. I do read as well, but I definitely it's like a ratio of 10 to 1 with YouTube to reading.
Okay. And how much do you think you are impacted by the specifics of the content? In other words, whether or not you believe the person's providing a lot of good information, and weigh that against the manner of delivery, or whether or not you think they're being awkward or graceful in their approach towards the matter. Which of those factors is more significant, or explain your relationship with those factors?
Yeah. So presentation is definitely a factor, but I would say content is more important. Like, for example, I really liked the lectures on um, late antiquity, early medieval period. That I think that's a Harvard lecture series. I watched that whole lecture series, but the professor that delivered it was not a good speaker, and he wasn't that engaging. But the content itself was engaging, and so I looked past that because the information itself was good. Um, Definitely nothing. is more irritating to me than just something that's all style and no substance, or very little substance. I definitely think I go more for more substance. Yeah, I prefer the substance. If a delivery is just really, really annoying, it could be off-putting. But generally, if I find that the information is new, like if it's something that I have not seen before, if it feels different than what I've seen before, then I'll probably put up with it.
Who do you find insufferable? Can you think of a public figure that I would be familiar with that you would call insufferable?
Um, I think like Samantha Bee. I can't stand Samantha Bee.
Is it because she's not funny?
She is not that funny, but like she's so irritating. Like it's almost like she's trying to irritate you is what I feel like.
Well, she fails on multiple levels.
Yeah, she's not that funny either, but yeah.
Okay, so who do you find more appealing as a personality if you're familiar with both of them? Russell Brand or Joe Rogan?
That's kind of a hard one. I am familiar with both of them. I like both of them. Um I watch more Joe Rogan than I do Russell Brand, because I think Rogan has like more interesting content. Like he'll bring on um, what's that guy that thinks that the ancient Egyptians, the Native Americans, had the same religion or something like that.
I don't
Um,
know.
yeah, and it's not important. Yeah, he has like interesting guests. Um, I like Russell Brand like in a, I don't know, ethereal level, but I don't feel like he provides as much new content.
What what music is nails on a chalkboard to you? Can you think of specific songs you hate or specific artists that you just can't stand it when they come on the radio?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not a big fan of rap music, but it might just be my lack of familiarity with it. Um, but I tend to like music that is like like uh more transcendent, or
Well,
like kind of uplifting.
what's a song that's famous and timeless song that everybody knows? You know, like "Twist and Shout" or something that most people think is a good song. And you go like, I hate that song.
Uh that's a hard one. I mean, I can't think of like too many things where I was just like really hate it. Like there's been like, when you turn on the music station, like there's some things I don't like, but
Okay.
I usually don't like have a strong visceral reaction to pop music.
Okay. Um, do you see many movies?
Yeah, I probably see about average. Hmm.
Have you seen the MCU movies?
What's MCU? Probably
The
not then.
Marvel comic universe, like
Oh
your
yeah,
Avengers and stuff like that.
yeah. I've seen a lot of those. Hmm.
Okay, which do you have an opinion about which one is like the best one or which one's the worst one?
I like the Iron Man one the best. I like Iron Man. He's an interesting and engaging character, and like I would say I kind of like all the Iron Mans, but Iron Man one is really good.
Okay, do you do creative endeavors? Like, do you make either poetry or music or nonfiction books or paintings or sculptures or anything like that?
I did in high school. I wrote a lot. I made a portfolio to submit for like a contest. It was called like a Davidson contest, and I had to write some poetry for that. I'd never done that before, but I did for that. I had to write like a novella, so I did that. That was fun. Um, I'd write some short stories. I did that. Yeah, I always did writing growing up.
So, which
Uh,
critique are you more likely to hear? Um, your characters are two dimensional, or elements of your plot are outlandish, don't make sense, or otherwise don't work?
I would say the characters probably more so. I don't think that at least especially then when I was writing them, I was not like I didn't have as full of an understanding of human nature, I would say, and how people are.
Okay. Well, what about if you were to attempt to write a screenplay right now? Will you have more trouble uh, figuring out like which scenes to include and how much to include in a scene, or uh, writing characters that resonate with people?
I would still say the characters because that first task you're saying about how much, that's you can definitely like look that up and you can say, okay, there should be this much, and you can kind of like measure it and check if you're right on that. The characters, I would probably, put myself into it and stuff like that, but I don't know like as far as, including other characters. I mean, I would try, but it would definitely be something I was newer at and I can't really check that as much to know if I did a good job.
Would you say that a more common general weakness among people is a poor relationship with goals or a poor relationship with the truth? What's a more common shortcoming among people?
I would say goals because there are liars out there, but if you get known as a liar, then you kind of get run out. So I think just my perception of people is most people are relatively truthful. Um, I think when you look to goals, though, you see a society that is distracted with you know um, too much YouTube and uh,
If you were going to give a general rule to society that you think would best improve society, would it link to um, better follow through on plans and goals? Would it link to more respect for authentic differentiation between people? Would it link to more justice, in other words, fairness and consistency across the board in rules, or would it link to more beauty, a greater focus on arts and expression and aesthetics?
I think oh, that's kind of a hard because I think like all of those would be beneficial, but I think that there is a need like at this moment for more justice and fairness. I think that that is like a big thing that people are having issues with, and um, yeah, maybe justice and fairness, but it's hard to pick.
Okay. Uh, do you think you'd be a better marriage counselor or individual person counselor if you had to be a psychologist of some kind?
Definitely individual. I am married, so I have some knowledge of that, but um, I think that I would be good at like listening to people and hearing what they're saying and stuff of that kind. Um,
How much do you think, if you're
yeah,
evaluating someone, say, to be a psychologist for you, how much would their quantity of experience play into your decision making?
like how much experience do they need to have to be a counselor?
Well, like, let's say you're looking for somebody to be a marriage counselor, let's say,
Hmm.
and you look at several resumes, so to speak, and they say different things on them, but the one I'm only information that I'm that right now is that okay. Well, some of them are have 10 years of experience versus 1 year of experience versus 20 years of experience versus 5 years of experience. Is that going to be a significant determinant factor for you, or they're probably going to be outweighed by other factors?
I would say it probably wouldn't be the most important to me because I've seen a lot of people that has been in jobs for a long time and they don't care anymore and they stop growing. Honestly, I would prefer to just see the person and like size them up and see like, if they kind of click with me, like if I feel like this is a person that, you know, has something to offer. So I would prefer to size them up in person. But if I had to look at their resume, I mean, I would not per se. If somebody had no experience, then that would be harder, because you got to teach them. But if they have a couple of years, then I would probably weigh that pretty equally as to somebody in their 20s. And as well, the knowledge may have changed. Since if somebody's been in the business 30 years, they got their training 30 years ago, it's probably been, in some ways superseded by newer stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't look at like the length of experience the
Okay.
most.
So imagine that I'm a young African boy who's accidentally gotten on a raft near his African homeland and floated off to sea and was lost at sea, drifts ashore right next to your house, and Isaiah Rude's arrival has thrown my train of thought for a second. Hold on, let me recapture where I was going with this.
You're an
Oh,
African boy floating
oh,
down a
Sorry, I
right,
just
river.
right.
woke up.
It's okay, Isaiah. Take your time, dude. No problem. Relax. Um, the if in fact
Shit.
I'm gonna mute you, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So and you've decided to take him in, and he has said, and now you're trying to explain to him. He say, look, I'm going to go to work, and I need you uh, to make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, I he said he's indicated to you in some sign languagey kind of way that you need to break this step down for him into exactly 8 steps. Now, can you please break down for your new African son, who's unfamiliar with the ways of the American kitchen, the best 8 steps you can to get him to successfully assemble something resembling a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
And it has to be 8 steps. Okay. Well, that seems interesting, but I would tell him to, number 1, get his knife. Number 2, get his peanut butter. Number 3, get his jelly. Then number 4, get his bread. And then number 5, spread the ingredients on the bread. Number 6, put it all together. Number 7, put the lids back on everything. And number 8, put it all away.
It's pretty good. Okay. So, which kind if we were stranded on a desert island, it was you and me and Isaiah and like 10 other random people on a boat tour. We'd gone on a 3-hour tour, it went awry as those things typically do. And so we're stranded on an island, and for some reason, Judy pushes you up, says, "You take charge, Christian. You need to take charge." And so you're standing there, and you've got the group's attention, and we're all like, "Okay, well, here we are shipwrecked on the island. Tell us what to do. Take charge." Okay, so what? Walk me through now. You're standing there. We're all waiting. What happens?
We need to find water and see if there's any source of water on the island, so we know if we're all going to die in 3 days or not. That's the first thing.
So I don't understand. Are you saying you're gonna go look for water?
Well, we're all going to look for water. We should. I was in Boy Scouts, so we'll go in pairs, and I guess we're standing on the shore.
Should we
So
all go look over there?
no, that
Should you
that
put?
would be disorganized.
Hey, so yeah, I'm not talking about that. Hey, so would you put me in charge of waking everybody up in the morning?
Yeah, I think we would all wake up soon enough. When you're in the outdoors, you all wake up early. So no, but what I would do. How many people was there? Was there
There's
4?
like
Was there
15.
3?
There's like 15 people. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now let me ask you this. So,
Mm-hmm.
how important is it to you if okay? So you're standing up there and okay, look, we need to figure out if we got water. And I say,
Yeah.
well, hold on. We need to set up some sort of hierarchy of decision making here. Some sort of
Yeah.
government.
Of
So
course.
maybe we should do that first. What would you say?
I would say that is gonna naturally emerge from the dynamics between the people. You don't have to like appoint somebody to be the leader, generally speaking, there'll be one most dominant personality that's just going to take charge anyway. That's my observation.
Okay,
So,
but do we really want to leave that kind of position to the naturally occurring phenomena rather than rather than
I don't know why.
rather than making a decision ourselves on the matter? I muted him.
I mean, there are better and worse leaders, but generally, somebody is not going to be respected and seen as a leader by others unless they have some degree of capability at it. So, I think when we're initially there and we're organizing, I mean, if I have the say over it, then, I'm going to say what seems most logical, which is, since we have this group of 15 people, actually what I would try and do is determine the size of the island. So I would have, 8 people go one way and 7 people go the other way around the shoreline
Okay, I
and
got a
try and
question. I
circumnavigate
got a
it.
question. If I
Uh-huh.
find water, does that mean I have ownership rights over it?
We all have ownership rights
But
over it.
but
We're
if
on a
I'm the
desert
one who
island.
finds it, I'm saying if I find it though, is it my water?
No, this is not John Locke. This is not how this
How much
works.
work do I have to put into the water before I have successfully homesteaded
You can't. It's
it?
communal because there's one source of water. We all have to have access to it.
Objection.
So
Facts
that's the
not in evidence. Appeal to facts not in evidence. We don't know there's only one source of water yet.
Okay. Well,
At
I'm
that
making the assumption since it's a little island.
at what point do you say, okay, fuck you, I'm not gonna be the leader anymore if were to continue to do that?
Um, I would be I would be annoyed because we need to. No, I wouldn't stop being leader, but I would appeal to the group to be like, hey, this is what we need to do. Do you think that we need to, go Eric's route and tear ourselves apart, or do you think we need to stick together in this terrible situation? I think that most everybody is gonna kind of tell you to shut up and
Okay, well, either
cooperate.
way, we need to establish some impeachment protocols ahead of time because I can tell we're gonna need to impeach this fucker.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, let me ask you some more meaningful questions, perhaps. All right, so what do you? Let me look. If you were to break down cognitive functions into 4 simple questions, it's this, and we'll see what you self-report. Now, self-reporting is not necessarily the best way to determine the actual answers to these questions, but we'll see how it goes anyway. First question is, how do you know? Which is to say, do you know from past experience and extrapolate from your past experience and draw conclusions about future experience accordingly? Or do you know from your observations about the world and in other words, are you more likely to make a mistake because you thought something was going to be like it had been before, but it actually was different? Or are you more likely to make a mistake because you ignored how things had gone before and read general cues, but it turned out to be the same way it was before?
Right. I would say I look more at my overall situation of where I'm at, and um, I do draw on the past experience as well, but I wouldn't say I'm excessively focused on that. I think I'm more focused on like, well, I don't know. That's a hard question though, because it's kind of both, like let's say that I learned in some situation that if you're asked to do something at work, you better do it. That's one of the first things you learn. So, but maybe I thought that I should only do that if my boss asked me, and I could just ignore requests from other people because they're not my boss. But then let's say I had a situation where I made some enemies that way, that people thought I would be more helpful, and so then in my next job, I probably would be more responsive. So on that aspect, I would draw on my past experience.
Okay, well, let me give you an.
Okay, so are you less likely to go to a restaurant if you have like one bad experience with it, but it was, well, let's say you got food poisoning from a restaurant, but that's like
Hmm.
a sort of not super common occurrence, or you hear from, I guess, from other people that they didn't have that same experience and they had a really good experience. Would you be comfortable going back to that restaurant later with under different circumstances?
I play a longer game on stuff like that. I would not let one factor like that, one experience like that, usually rule it out for me. Usually, I play a longer game on it, and I'm a little bit hesitant on my understanding of most things, actually. So I prefer to. I need to see it a couple times before I'm certain that it's like going to happen over and over, versus if it was an anomaly. So I would probably
Hmm.
go back.
Okay. So I want to describe another example of an SI-NI distinction and see which to sort of get another piece of evidence on which way you know. So one time I was driving to pick somebody up in Los Angeles at a place that I don't normally go to. I had put a sticky note on my dashboard saying where I was going. But as I'm partway down there, as is typical for me, after I get in the car, I go, "Wait, where am I going?" And but what I did was I worked back in my head to when it was I left the house and before I left the house and what I was talking about and what I decided to do before I left the house, and that's how I remember where I was going. And then I looked, and there's a sticky note right in front of me. It tells me where I'm going. So that's being an SI user versus NI. An NI
Mm.
person is less likely to is less likely to experience the phenomenon of if it were a snake, it would have bit you, or there's other expressions that basically mean and it was right in front of my
FNI.
face the whole time, you know. And when it comes to pieces of evidence that answer questions like that, so I don't know
Did you already?
if you can
Did you
have.
already ask him?
Hold
I'm
on,
sorry. Did you?
Isaiah. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if you have comparable examples in your own life tonight, but you obviously understand the concept of what I'm getting at. So, which side of that do you more identify with?
Um, I mean, I don't usually forget where I'm going. But I don't. If I'm going somewhere, then I wouldn't just do it spur of the moment. I usually like I go to work. I go to um a few different things, but I would know where I was going usually. Or if I was on a trip, then I wouldn't care and I'd just be on a trip. But like, I mean, I don't. I probably wouldn't forget. If I did forget and I was just like disorientated like that, then um, I don't know. I can't relate to that.
Okay, how do you handle your self care stuff? Eating, sleeping. Um, do you
That's what I was
not
gonna ask.
pee until you just about to pop, or or on top of that, like that kind of stuff?
So, I had a tendency to like forget things and like not know how to do things exactly. And it's kind of a strain to like figure out exactly how I'm going to do a routine. So, to prevent that, I try to have a simple, basic routine that I don't have to think about. So, I don't have to, like, if I have to clean the house, for example, and think about where I'm going to put all the stuff to put it away, especially when I was a kid, it was a huge strain. I'd be so exhausted afterwards. So, my solution to that I came up with, I came up with it in my late high school years, was to just simplify it. Just throw everything out if you don't need it. Only keep the stuff that you actually need, and basically construct like a simple construct for it. So, for example, when I'm going to go to work, I have a chair, and on this chair, I keep my keys, I keep my wallet, I keep my whatever I'm going to take to go to work. I put my clothes for work there the night before, because if I'm going to have to figure that out the next morning, it's going to take me too much time. I'm going to forget something inevitably, and then I'm going to be pissed off that I forgot something important. So I prepare it usually the night before, and I do that with now, as far as like cleaning the house and stuff like that, I would rather not have to do that. I wish my wife would just do it all for me, but she doesn't necessarily. So I have to do that sometimes myself. So the things that I do like that, like I wash the dishwasher every night because I don't want to have an accumulation of dirty dishes in the sink, and then I have to like pull them out, and that's a nuisance. So I just like try and take care of it. This is something I learned to do at work as well. Just do it right away or prepare it right away, because otherwise you're gonna forget where you were at. You're not gonna know. You're gonna basically miss it. So I just try and like I queue everything up. That's a good word for it. I try to queue everything up as I go.
Okay, so let me ask you this: give me an example of a problem that a kind of problem you find easy to solve and a kind of problem you find difficult to solve?
I find like word type problems easy to solve. So, my proudest academic achievement was I was able to get a perfect score on the SAT verbal section. So I did exceedingly well with that, and that was an interest of mine was literature. So I did very well there. Anything to do with words, like writing, um, anything like that, is just fun. It's kind of a pleasure. Um, that's a scope for creativity. If I have to solve a problem which is relating to like more quantitative stuff like Microsoft Excel, I hate that. Um, I don't like the vibe of like I don't like the vibe of like how they construct like business programs and business speak in general. I have a lot of distaste for that whole vibe and that whole environment. Obviously, I work for a corporate type company because I have to for money, but I honestly am really repelled by business. I hate it, like the environment and like the dryness and all that. And then I also don't like quantitative. I don't like PowerPoint. I don't like any of that.
Okay. Isaiah, you want to ask him some TI questions?
Yeah, sure. Um, okay, so I'll start with a genealogy question. So just tell me who this. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this around the channel before. You have. Okay, I'll just jump into
No,
it.
I was
So
just saying yes, but continue.
okay, um, who's my mother's sister's kid in relation to me?
Okay, so your mother's sister, so that's your aunt, her kid, well, that's your first cousin.
Yep. All right. Who's my mother's husband in relation to me?
Your mother's mother, so your grandmother's husband is your grandpa.
Who's my dad's only sister-in-law's kids, only cousins, grandfather's wife in relation to me?
Yeah, I lost the thread on that one. You'd have to go on one by one so I could game it out.
Okay. I think that was grandmother. Did you guys follow?
Do you repeat? Can you repeat it? I wasn't really listening to it.
I want to try. I said father-in-law's only, or no, sorry, not father-in-law's. I said father's only sister-in-law's kids, only cousins, grandfather's wife.
Alright, so father's only sister-in-law's kids, only cousins, uh, only cousin's wife,
No, grandfather's wife.
grandfather's wife. That would be your great grandmother.
Well, I said only cousin after I went to father, only sister-in-law, so that would be your aunt on your mom's side, right?
Okay, my bad. Yeah, you're right. Grandfather,
Grandmother, because it's grandfather's wife.
grandfather's wife, grandmother. Okay, fine. That's a tough one. When you get the in-laws, that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, I lost the thread on that one.
All right, so let me try a simpler one that's multi-step. Okay, can you tell me my mother's husband's only daughters, only son's sister's father in relation to me?
Her only daughters. I mean, I was following this through my
I think I might have made a
grandmother.
mistake at the end. Actually, I might have made a mistake at the end. So what I meant to say, if I didn't say it, I'm gonna repeat it and see if I got it, the same thing anyway. Is my my father's wife's only daughter's only son's sister's father in relation to me. My
My
father,
father? Is
my
that my father?
uh, it's yes, right,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I kind of
correct,
traced it
yeah,
there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, fine. Let me do the other kind of TI. A couple of the other kind of TI questions. If all bluebirds sing Misty, and some Misty singers play piano, is it necessarily the case that some bluebirds play piano?
Say it again.
If all bluebirds play Misty, and some Misty players play piano, if all bluebirds sing Misty and some Misty singers play piano, is it the case necessarily that some bluebirds play piano?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
because it's just a sum between bluebirds and Misty.
Right. Okay. How about this? If only Egyptians make BLTs and I'm an Egyptian, is it necessarily the case that I make a BLT?
No, it doesn't follow.
All right. How about if either A or B, then C, and not C, can we conclude not A and not B?
Say it again.
If either A or B, then C, and not C, can we conclude not A and not B?
Well, it said if either, then C. No, it doesn't follow necessarily, does it? I don't think so.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Because the inverse of the or is not and not. But okay, that's fine. All right, so pretty solid TI. So what do you understand as being? You know, are you familiar with the word teleology?
Teleology is like the purpose. Yes.
Okay, so given that there's this philosophy about life that you link everything in life to its purpose, would you say you agree with that philosophy? To the extent that you disagree with it, could you express specific critiques of it that you think are that fall short, or otherwise talk about that?
Okay. Well, I did have a lot of thinking about this to my current views, but I was actually confirmed into the Catholic Church on Monday, and I had my first communion today. So I would say there is a teleology. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that instance, you're saying that people are purposed; they're not purposeless.
Yeah, I would say they are. Hmm.
Okay. Given that people are purposed, though, what do you think regarding their, like, for example, does that mean that their approach to life is framed through a specific set of goals, or are the goals themselves determined within a frame, or how does that link to goal orientation of a person on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis or whatever?
Well, everybody has a calling or a vocation, but it's not necessarily like it can be a lot of different things, and you're basically supposed to make the most of wherever or whoever you are. So some people have more talents than others. Some people have a lot of talents in one area and less talent in another area, so on and so on. But even if you find yourself working as a clerk at a convenience store, for example, um, that is it's something you should do your best at. You should make the most in general of wherever situation you find yourself in. You should not you shouldn't be discontent with it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for more, but you shouldn't be discontent with it. You should have a degree of acceptance to know that that is where God, or I mean, if you want to say the universe, has placed you. You should not. You should kind of go with the flow in a certain sense. You shouldn't.
Do you
You
have
shouldn't
specific
react
goals for
against it.
yourself?
Um, I want to get a house and have kids soon. Um,
Do you
I
have
think that's
do
important.
you have a plan to attain that goal?
Yeah, so I will get um, I mean, I don't push on it like all that much, but I make enough money to where I can get a home loan. So when my lease is up, I'm gonna get a home loan. I may have some
Okay,
other
gotcha,
ways.
gotcha. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, all right. If
So, when did you get into typology, and can you describe what that was like, and who got you into it, if anybody did get you into it?
I don't remember the exact beginning of it, but I remember I was interested. I think I went on the Personality Cafe. I think that was the beginning of it. It's a typology website that used to be really popular. I think it's not as much now, um, but yeah, Personality Cafe. I learned about MBTI there, and then I learned about JCFs there. Then I actually learned about socionics from EJR&D. I heard about that from him. I mean, he didn't actually understand it that well, but he
You
talked
go
about it.
way back.
Oh yeah,
So,
10 years.
what was interesting to you about it? What got you like? What was the thing? What was the selling point to you?
Thinking about like the functions and like trying to make a schema of people's types in like this abstract way. It's kind of like mind stimulation for me. I find it very pleasurable. That's the main reason. It's kind of like importing like some of the stuff that I liked in fiction, but you kind of like import it into real life. The real world is like very full of gas stations and billboards and like kind of like very un uninteresting things, but typology offers you like this mystique to it, and it's symbolic, and it's just nice to think about.
Hmm. Okay, well, I mean, I know what I think you are type wise. I can tell you what your answers have been most consistent with and pretty consistent with across the board, as well as in general your behavior. Although I haven't asked a lot of, I guess, value questions, but your everything so far has been consistent with INFJ, which is not hugely surprising because there are certain types that are more likely to come get typed by me. Um, ENTJs, I tend to get a disproportionate number of ENTJs compared against the percentage in the population, let's say, and INFJs both. And it's generally
I,
because with INFJs, they they want to they want legitimacy in their self-identification. They're skeptical of it because it's a desirable type to be, and it's also difficult to go through the world saying you're one um, without sufficient. It's easier to say, "Well, I was typed by Mia as Mia," than it is to say I'm an INFJ for a lot of FE reasons. But Isaiah, you wanted to say something before we get your response to this, Christian?
um. Oh shit! One sec. I've got to take care of something.
Okay. So what are your thoughts then?
I mean, that was I guess probably my first result that I had come to, but I don't have a lot of certainty in my conclusions about things, so I would always revisit it, I guess, in different ways. And um, I guess I would take in like more information on like, what were other people. And I wanted my own typing to make sense in reference to other people as well. So I think I maybe took in a little bit too much data for me to process that efficiently. So I would find myself like there would always uh, be some way to think about it from another angle, basically.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, uh, there sort of is.
Wait a second. Wait a second. What about that test? The TE test that you did earlier on? I heard him do pretty damn well on that. I'm not sure that that would be su- totally contraindicative of INFJ, but he seemed to be able to divide that up into 8 steps pretty damn well.
I agree with you that that is inconsistent. Your answer there was inconsistent with INFJ, but I don't think
So
it's.
we'd have to jettison the TE test then for polar testing purposes.
Well, I mean, I never claimed it to be a polar test. Just something that I thought was linked to TE. The thing is, I also gave
Right.
him more information than I normally give people on the TE test there, which is to say, I told them the story of I was a kid from Africa who was unfamiliar with American kitchens, and he also sort of took a second, second take on it and said, "Okay, wait, so there has to be exactly 8 steps." Um, I thought he did a pretty good job on it as well. Um,
I'll tell
what
you.
when I asked him what kind of problems he'd like to solve, or what kind of problems he thinks he's good at solving, and what kind of problems he thinks he's bad at solving. He self-reported as heavily favoring TI over TE. So I guess I preferred that evidence over the former.
Yeah, the way I solve that is I know that like with that type of thing, I would not be able to like visualize exactly. I wouldn't be able to visualize the process. So, but I know what I can do is just like take it step by step and just break it down one step in front of me, and hopefully it'll come out to be 8. And with something like that, you can really subdivide it into as many steps as you wanted, as many or as few. So I just like broke it down, each step being action, and then made it out to be 8. If I had had a 9th step, I would have said eat it as like the last step, because I didn't like exactly think about how to do it, but I've divided it action by action.
Okay, so I mean the thing here is, as an interface function, TE and FE don't just interface with things differently, but they provide a different sort of frame of reference. So TIFE is about that which is defensible in words, and it's about
Hey, can I interject here just 1 second? I think that this one might be an INTJ. I think we might have another INTJ here.
okay.
The reason I say that is because I think an INTJ might very well consciously, or they might value TI if you ask them a value question.
No, I look. It's not. I haven't eliminated that from my calculations at all myself either. I'm trying to distinguish between TE and FE because I'm seeing the two. I'm seeing a knowledge interface type here, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of what kind of problems he considers problems that he solves, or what his frame of reference is. So, like when I asked him about what kind of problems he solved, he mentioned getting a perfect score on the verbal part of the SAT. I presume that means you didn't get a perfect score on the math part. Is that right?
No, I got a 550 on the math part, and I had to study for it. So, yeah, I was about average there.
And that's very similar to how I scored on the SAT, which is, I think, much more consistent with a metaphysical type that's non-ordinal, INFJ, than it is with a metaphysical type that's ordinal, like INTJ. But it's not determinate necessarily in and of itself. So, like, what's an example of a problem that you would like to be assigned at work and you feel like you'd be good at producing the results desired? Or in some other context?
I mean, if they ask me to, which is kind of where I'm at, which is to, make the customers be happy and not get complaints, then I'm pretty good at that.
Make the customers be happy and not get complaints, huh? And can you explain? Let's say I'm a customer, and let's say you're in a business where you sell frog growth hormones that promise to increase the jumping power of your frog by at least 2 times. Okay? And I'm calling in and I'm saying, look, hey, I measured before this, I gave him the supplement, and he jumped 6 inches. And now he jumps like around a foot, but that's not 2 times as many distances. It should be 2 6 inches.
Right. So that was his complaint. Then I would
That's
say,
my
well,
complaint. Yeah, I think you guys need to check your advertising. You say it's going to double the distance. I went from 6 inches, that's 6, to 1 foot. I lost 6. I lost 5 things. It's not twice as far. It's less distance.
right. Well, I'm really sorry that was the case. How much time have you given it? Have you fed him through the whole process of how long you're supposed to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I made my own little frog-specific suppositories. I've been administering them to him with my tongue every evening, and he loves it. It's a little intimate moment between us that we share. That's why I know he's also well motivated to jump far. So it can't be a lack of motivation, and I got out my ruler. Like I said, I measured him beforehand. He got to the number 6, right? And then I measured him after the supplement. I thought he was going to do great. He got up to where it was going to look like he was going to get 12. He got to 1. 5 less. Can you explain this to me? I mean, should I not get at least double my money back, since not only did my frog not jump double as far, but it jumps 5 less fars?
Well, I understand where you're coming from for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's not exactly where we wanted to be. And it sounds like you did everything right, everything you could have done. So I'm really sorry about that.
So you're not going to try to explain to me that he did jump twice as far?
Did he? Oh, well, I wasn't really listening to that.
My position was
So,
that because he went from 6 inches to 1 foot, that he lost 5 distances.
Okay, Eric, you win. You fucking win.
So you're just bullshitting on autopilot, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. I just woke up in my defense.
No, I'm talking to Christian. I'm giving him this
well,
ridiculous nonsense
I know, and I heard his answer to that, and I said you win.
Okay.
I wasn't really listening to the details of it. I was assuming that you were right about that. So I was kind of,
All right. So yeah, you're an INFJ for sure. I feel quite confident typing you as an INFJ.
Yeah, as soon as Morridge here told me his.
Hi, Morridge. I finally get to see what Morridge looks like. I've seen him in the chat so many times. Now I get to see what he looks like. You got a future in Hollywood.
The ISFJ of the group here. So.
Doesn't he look like he could be perfectly cast in a teen movie of some sort? As the lovable guy who's coming of age or something?
Well, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
He plays like the innocent kind of lovable nerd guy who's coming of age, you know?
Right, exactly.
Who has aspirations for the hot chick and somehow ends up getting on her in the end.
Yeah, actually, exactly. That's exactly what happens. That's how it always plays out in the end. He steals everybody's bitch, even the ESTP over there. But anyway,
can't trust those ISFJs.
Yeah, he really should be with Ethan, I think. But anyway, the way he answered that question, and then the way that I heard him answer it, after having heard the FE tool answer the same question, but by two different people, it was too similar.
Like that was the
Cool.
non-instrumental TI.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Christian, do you have any questions or areas you'd like me to talk about what that means, or thoughts about, obviously you've studied cognitive functions for a long time. Maybe you've come across conflicting positions that you're still not quite sure how you want to resolve them in your own head. You want to talk to me about, or anything like that. Lay it out there. I'm happy to answer any questions or address anything.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was probably the most likely thing, so I wouldn't really disagree. I mean,
Of course you don't.
having been in socionics and read about that a lot, I mean, in socionics, that's not the type you want to be, but in MBTI, it's a good type. So, but I mean, it's not really about that. I mean, it kind of, is what it is. But yeah, I'm kind of sad about the whole TE thing. I kind of noticed that at work and stuff because, I thought I was like a lot more like good at things than I really was when it came to like, I guess, solving real world type problems. And so, it is what it is. You make workarounds for it, I guess.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss only really does apply to your polar. I never feel like I'm really going to quite get the tragedy of being FI polar. I'm sure it's quite tragic. But I'm never going to quite get a handle on it because I'm that blind to it, It's hard to... You're so blind to your polar, it's hard to even recognize how significant the deficit may play out to be. Of course, in an environment that's asking you to solve specific problems, that can be a challenge. But the problems that you're asked to solve at work are social or people problems, and those are right up your alley.
Yeah, I always say that FI polar is one of the best polars to have. I guess just because I don't get FI.
Yeah, you say that until you tell the story of your last relationship and how you let yourself be treated for such a long time in a ridiculous fashion because you have just no regard for your own interests. That can be bad too.
Yeah, it's apparent to everybody else except for you. Even other people who have the same polar as you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is just. Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I've always noticed, like, when it comes to like something that's relating to like doing a task efficiently, um, I'll take a long time to figure out how to do it in a good way, and other people will just jump right in and know how to do it, and that's kind of frustrating. But I get it is what it
Is
is.
it frustrating, Aaron?
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I'm at work, I can tell.
the bottom line
Yeah.
is ENTPs and INFJs are the two most metaphysical types. That is to say, we're the most interested in map-related things. How maps are made, whether the maps are accurate, why they're accurate, what they tell us about relationships between things, etc. But the consequence of that is we don't tend to like the causal kind of reality, which is, I have to do something, then I'm going to be stuck with what I did. Whereas in conditional land, I can consider possibilities and not be stuck with any of them.
Yeah, I've tried that, kind of thinking, oh well, I screwed this up, but it's just part of the process. Surely it's not going to be held against me.
Right. Metaphysical types like a very mistake tolerant environment because the metaphysical ecosystem is one in which there aren't exactly mistakes, there's just conditionalities that proved invalid, so to speak.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I'm a lot more at home in the I guess the metaphysical realm.
Well, on the plus side, everyone will always overestimate both your competence and will generally afford you more benefit of the doubt and upward mobility than they might otherwise because you're an INFJ, and that shit just happens to INFJs.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been
you
lucky
know,
in my career so far. I don't understand how I'm still hired.
you know who I think might have been an INFJ is Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, maybe. He just seemed a little too TE heavy for that, though. But
Maybe he could be an INTJ too, but everyone did overestimate his competence. I think, especially the audience, of course.
okay, I'm gonna end this recording now. Stopping recording.